Online. There was a communication that was sent online from the Communication Commission of Uganda. So the Communication Commission of Uganda is the body that is mandated to control the entire communication in this country. So it came out and it said, and it was a communication directed to the telcos, to the companies that provide internet in this country. So the telcos, they were instructed by the government to switch off internet at 1800 local time. Initially, we thought it was just propaganda by the opposition parties because it was 2 days to the election. But like in the hotel where we are staying, they called each and every room. And so I was busy working on my story and I received a call from the housekeepers and they were like, we've been instructed by the government to switch off internet. So they were speaking on behalf of the company that is providing internet, fiber internet here in this hotel. And they told us that the government had instructed the company to switch off the distribution, the connection at 6 p.m. And so they were just notifying us because that was like 20 minutes to 6 p.m. in the evening. And true to that, on 13th of January, 6 p.m., the entire country lost internet connection. It was not just social media, it was the entire internet. So there were basically 7 days of no internet connection. It was restored on 20th of January.
When you talk about these operators and like the phone operators or internet operators, are they government or state owned, or like Iran, for instance, they are called private, but all the heads are very close to the body of the regime and the system?
Not really. They're actually private. They are not government owned. The telcos are private businesses, but they have to get licenses by the government. And the Communication Commission is the one that gives the licenses. So when they say do not switch on internet, they've basically taken their power on their hand and they say, if you switch off, then you will not have business in our country. So the telcos have to abide.
Yeah, understood. Now, Raghavendra, the situation in India is a bit different. These switch offs are more sporadic. But can you tell us when they do that and in what situations you see these switch offs? And are there areas that are more affected by it?
Well, yes, from what we have seen in the past decade or so, most of these internet shutdowns in India, they've been very localized in nature. I mean, we haven't yet had a situation where internet was shut down across the country. But what has happened is that whenever there has been some kind of a mass protest or a demonstration or some kind of violence, and the authorities are trying to get things under control, the first thing they've been doing is to shut the internet down. We have seen that in Jammu and Kashmir. It started in 2019 when Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, which granted special status, somewhat of autonomy to that region, that article was abrogated by the Indian government. That led to a situation where there was a lot of resentment in Jammu and Kashmir, and the government feared it could just blow up into a full-fledged crisis. And that is when, immediately after the abrogation, they shut down the internet in Jammu and Kashmir, and that shutdown lasted for over 550 days. It was one of the longest internet shutdowns, shortly in India, and I would
I think in the world.
Anywhere in the world, yeah.
Raghavendra, was it a complete shutdown, or was it just social media platforms that were affected?
It was an internet shutdown where you could not get, internet signals. Normal mobile telephony was not affected. You could still make calls from your mobile phones. There were reports to suggest that even the short messaging service, the SMSs, they were not working in real time. If you were to send an SMS, it would get delivered maybe after days. And we've seen a similar situation in the northeastern state of Manipur, which got engulfed in ethnic violence in 2023. The first thing the authorities did was shut the internet down. There are these two communities there who have been at loggerheads. They have been fighting each other, and there has been a lot of ethnic violence. Over 250 people have been killed since 2023 in Manipur. And the reasoning behind that we hear from the authorities is they say that shutting the internet down is essential to maintain law and order, because they say that if people have access to internet during a crisis situation, a situation which is volatile, which can blow up into something big, there is a great chance of people sharing fake news and disinformation, misinformation, sending forwards which are unverified, and it can further escalate tensions. This is the experience in India, and not just Jammu and Kashmir or Manipur, but in many other states in India, be it Haryana, be it Uttar Pradesh. We've seen that whenever there is a hint of trouble in these places, it has almost become a default action for the authorities. The first thing they would do, even before sending out cops to control the situation, the first thing they would do instinctively is shut the internet down.
You are listening to the documentary from the BBC World Service. This is The Fifth Floor, and I'm Farna Kamidi. Now I want to talk about how it affects people in these different countries. Let's start with you, Hadi. Obviously, it makes it very difficult for people to get news and information and be in contact with their loved ones. But what other impacts does it have on the population?
In the first few days, people were not even able to get their prescriptions from the pharmacies because almost any other country now, all these databases are online now. I mean, it's been a few years that maybe a decade that it's like that. So if your doctor would prescribe you something that you would need to get from the pharmacy would need to check if the prescription is legit, if you have any other allergies, if there are any overlaps, any concerns that they need to share with you. The whole system was off. So people couldn't get their prescriptions. And I heard that amid this violent crackdown, that thousands and thousands are reported to be shot dead, and more than them, tens of thousands been injured, that the whole medical system is under so much pressure. The hospitals couldn't call in doctors or nurses. There were no services, so they had to drive their own cars. Imagine you're a nurse, you're already under so much pressure, you have to leave the hospital, get on your car, drive through these streets that are seeing to huge protests, get to the doctor's home, get to their location, and tell them that we need you. You're called in. This was the situation. And of course, that was the level that was all apart from the protests. Speaking of the protests and what's going on in Iran, this lockdown, this internet lockdown, is aimed to both isolate the protesters so they wouldn't know where are the people are getting together, what's the next step, they wouldn't know, they wouldn't be able to communicate, and they've been really pushing for that. That's why they're so upset about other ways that people are getting online using Starlink or satellite telephones.
But also it has a huge economic impact as well. In a country like Iran, a lot of people use Instagram and social media, especially young Gen Z people use these platforms for their businesses.
Yeah, exactly. It's estimated to be at least 10 million people living their lives, actually making their own livings online, either on Instagram or other online shops or other tools that they use. 10 million people. It's a
lot.
15% of the population, and it could be an underestimation because all of the people in Iran are practically living off internet services. If they want to pay their bills, they actually have to do it online. It's been a while that the banks don't accept paying bills. You need to go online, which actually has been a problem for the elder part of the society. So the government has forced people to go online, and now it's taking it away from them.
Roncliffe, I can imagine this blackout in Uganda must have had a heavy cost for the country as well.
Yeah, very true, because Uganda is still a small economy. And most of the people depend on internet, especially young people, for their business. I met a young restaurant owner who says she depends fully on internet for deliveries. So she makes food, but she has to do deliveries and she gets the orders through Facebook and Instagram. And now she couldn't get any orders because there was no internet. So nobody was making any orders because they're not used to people walk in. They're used to people who order online and food is being delivered. We got another teacher who says it's holiday time during elections, but she had a class of like 30 students, and she used to give them assignments using a WhatsApp group, and all that could not happen for the 7 days that the internet was not there. So you find even the economy itself, because the Minister of Finance said in 2021, the 1 week shutdown cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you can imagine now it's the same thing, because most people cannot just have their normal operations. You know, we have a lot of motorcycles that offer transport here. They call them locally border. So people order online. You order for a motorcycle to pick you from work, to take you home, to pick you home, to bring you to work. And that all couldn't happen in the 7 days. So the distraction, if you have to put it that way, is massive. And the losses are huge because of the internet shutdown.
And this internet shutdown, in the context of the election in Uganda, what kind of impact does it have?
Well, let me even start on the election day. They had to use electronic verification of voters, but that system could not work because there was no internet. And for 4 hours, the polling stations were not operational, and voting couldn't start for the first 4 hours. But also, when you speak to, for example, the opposition that have rejected the results, they are saying they were unable to verify the results from the different polling stations because their agents could not send in the numbers. Because on the day of election now, even SMSs could not go through. So it was not just internet, but even normal communication. So the only way you could communicate is through normal phone calls. And so how to get those verification forms? Once people have voted, you've done the counting, you've signed, you need to send those forms to the tallying center. It was a total mess. It could not happen.
And Raghvendra, you said over 500 days of internet shutdown in a place like Kashmir. I cannot even imagine what kind of an impact it must have had on people and the region.
Absolutely. I mean, taking forward what Roncliffe just said, we've had situations both in Jammu and Kashmir and in Manipur where, lengthy periods of internet shutdown has really thrown people's lives out of gear. There are entrepreneurs who the only presence their businesses have is online. The other aspect is that whenever we have seen internet shutdowns, it's in places where some kind of crisis is going on or violence has happened or there is a fear that violence may happen. So we've also seen that in these places that a curfew is imposed, wherein people have to stay indoors, they can't go out of their houses. In Manipur, schools were shut down for months altogether, and the situation was not coming back to normal. And there was a growing demand that if children can't go to school, at least allow them to have online teaching. But if you have an internet shutdown in place, there can be no online teaching.
And Raghvendra, staying with you, have people found ways around these shutdowns in India?
There are some people who manage to access VPNs and they manage to work their way around these internet shutdowns. But these are not your everyday commoners who have access to VPNs. Only a select few with the resources can get access. Other ways some people try to explore is those staying in areas like which are border areas bordering another state. So at times what people do in desperation is to just try and cross